Distinguished Senator Jimoh Ibrahim, the only senator with PhD in warfare.
Mr. Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, my colleagues, my name is Jimoh Ibrahim, for representing Ondo South. Let me thank the committees for excellent job, and in a few minutes, just 1 minute, talk to the paper. Accounting is historical. Accounting is historical. Data can only be futuristic. So the projection made here are valid projections because they cannot be subjected to audit. Mr. President, let me say clearly and let me recall the point I made when this government came into being, that the cash ratio to GDP, which is very fundamental, was 1%. Cash ratio to gross domestic product, that is, GDP is the volume of the economy. When Tinubu took over was 1%. 1%. How can any MD take over a company with 1% cash ratio to GDP? We already know from that very document that we have a lot of problems because there will be no cash to run the economy with 1% GDP to cash ratio. But today, we've seen all of these movements around the economy. One important thing that I think this Senate will make history is to ensure that food security is very, very important. Now, like we suggested at the World Bank, let's have voucher for food, particularly for the first 30 million Nigerians that are impoverished, that are critically in the poverty net. If we collapse all the account of palliatives in the central bank, and we print voucher for food and give to 30 million Nigerians 100,000 naira per month, now you reduce money supply. The inflation is caused by the gravity of money supply in the market. And the more you have money supply, you have inflation problem, you have forex problem, foreign exchange problem. All of this problem begins to come in because your money supply is high. Let me say clearly, the growth projection here is very accurate and it commensurates with international standard, particularly the global growth ratio, at the medium term rate. But the key thing is that we must ensure at this Senate that government is more advised critically to look into food security. Food security again is dangerous because it's one of the weapons for war. Because you can't control food insecurity. And the complaint about government policies will reduce when hunger is no longer there. So I would suggest that as much as the document talks to the economic prosperity of next year, it is very key that we look at food for voucher so that 30 million Nigeria can be taken away from the tax net. We are not printing new money. All we are saying is that collapse palliative accounts. In fact, the two senators here are the best to distribute voucher for food in their various senatorial districts. If those vouchers were printed, how can you imagine giving 10 billion naira to a state governor for palliative? He is going to use the money to do road or do anything, but if you give him 10 billion voucher for food, no one can take more than 100,000 naira per voucher. There is no way the governor can steal the money or do anything funny with the money. And the district senator here are the best to even circulate, distribute voucher for food. Lastly, on the data issue, you will recall, Mr. President, that I even brought a bill before this very distinguished Senate about federal data bank. This data is now reoccurring every day. Every arm of government, whether executive or legislative, need data to work. We must appreciate the current government and the effort being made to generate this data. Because we need data. There's no data bank in Nigeria. Even if you want to know how many people are actually in poverty now, you can only project. You don't really have the actual data. And we need to create this data. And I do think that when the bill comes to the next reading, my colleagues will be happy to support that. We need data for everything that we do. If we don't have data, it is very difficult to plan. So I will say, with all respect, that if we can take away, if we can do voucher for food, I can ask senators to distribute vouchers in their various senatorial districts, and we have data to back it up, then Nigeria will be smiling. Nigeria will be great. Nigeria will be a wonderful country. And let me say this finally, that I must commend Senator Sani Musa and his team for brilliant job done, because, like I said, account is historical. Account is not futuristic. It is only data can talk to the future. Account only talk to the past. We can only audit the money we spent last year or 2 years ago. We cannot audit the money that we will spend next year. So, Mr. Senate President, like I said, I'll conclude my submission by saying that this document is valid. This document is incredibly very competent to talk to the future, because you and me know that accounting is about yesterday. It cannot be about future. We cannot audit what we will spend next year. We cannot audit what we are going to spend next year budget, but we can audit what we spent yesterday. So accounting is historical, data is futuristic. Based on that, this is a very valid document, well prepared, intelligently formulated, and I think we should adopt it, urgently, and ensure that we only talk to it through food security by putting voucher and collapsing the palliative accounts at the central bank to issue vouchers to 10 to 30 million Nigeria that are vulnerable, so that we can have our peace. Again, I also think that the rich are not well taxed. The rich are not well taxed. Yes, there is need for us to increase revenue. If you want to increase revenue, because MBA is about revenue minus cost. So if your revenue is greater than your cost, you are profitable. If your revenue is less than your cost, you are at loss. But when the rich are buying planes, buying Rolls Royces, buying cars, buying houses, and the taxes are not there, I think we must even have a policy that traces the bank account number of the rich, and ensure that they contribute more, so that all of us will be a jolly good fellow with the poor and move our national economy forward. Once again, thank you, Mr. President, and my very, very good distinguished colleagues, and I thank you very much for the time given.
The distinguished Senator